Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're wrestling with this really fundamental paradox. The idea that the path to real personal freedom isn't paved with shortcuts or relaxation. It's paved with, well, uncompromising discipline.
It really does sound like an oxymoron when you first hear it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We all want ease, but our source material today insists that, rigor and restraint are the only way.
That is the absolute core of what we're deep diving into. Discipline equals freedom. And these insights, they're pulled directly from the philosophy of Jocko Willink. He's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer, and his name is it's synonymous with leadership.
Especially from his service during the Battle of Ramadi. He was awarded the Silver Star for his actions there.
Yeah.
And after his military career, he co-founded Echelon Front. And he's been successfully translating these incredibly intense SEAL principles into strategies for business, for leadership, and for life.
Right. So our mission here for you, the learner, is really straightforward. We're extracting the actionable blueprints, both mental and physical, that Willink champions, the ones designed to help you, conquer procrastination, get rid of self-doubt, and really harness your own power.
And let's start with the central lie he just demolishes. If there's one phrase that cuts through all the noise of life hacks and quick fixes, it's this one. The shortcut is a lie.
I love the brutal honesty of that. It's demanding, but it's also weirdly comforting. The source is crystal clear. The hack doesn't get you there. What gets you there is this really demanding list. Hard work, late nights, early mornings, practice, rehearsal, repetition, study, sweat, blood.
It goes on and on. Toil, frustration, and discipline. And that list might sound overwhelming, but the power isn't in how long it is. It's about confronting reality. You accept that effort is the only way, and then you stop wasting all that mental energy looking for an easier path. You strip away the excuses.
And that, right there, is liberating. And it's so crucial that this discipline isn't something imposed on you. It's not a drill sergeant. It's not your boss. It has to come from within. It's a personal choice, a conscious decision to just be better.
And there's an urgency to it. Procrastination thrives when you're waiting for something. The source is emphatic. You can't wait for the right moment. You start right here and right now. That immediate action is the first step.
This all hinges on where you place your focus, which brings us to the locus of control. He argues the most important realization is this: the only person you can control is you.
That is the foundation of self-mastery. Absolutely. Instead of getting frustrated when other people don't meet your expectations or trying to manage them, the focus has to turn completely inward. You learn from others, sure, but you prioritize your own choices. That's where all the power is.
Okay, so this is where we move from the big philosophy to, the daily mental battle. Winning the internal war. This requires a really radical level of self-mastery.
It does. This is what he calls mind control. Asserting your will over your feelings. And the tool he advocates for this is the no-vote rule.
It's such a sharp, powerful statement. He says, weakness doesn't get a vote, laziness doesn't get a vote, sadness doesn't get a vote, frustration doesn't get a vote, and then, in all caps, negativity doesn't get a vote.
It's like a psychological lockdown mechanism.
Yeah.
You are actively deciding that certain internal states, the ones that undermine your mission, well, they don't get to influence your actions. You separate feeling from execution.
But doesn't that feel, almost machine-like? I hear that and I just wonder, is that sustainable for a normal person? Are we risking suppressing really necessary emotional feedback?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
And it does speak to the intensity here. The goal isn't lifelong emotional suppression. It's tactical. It means in the moment you need to act, your feelings of being tired or having self-doubt, they don't get to decide for you. You deal with the feelings later. You execute the mission now.
That reframes it. Okay, so discipline as a tactical tool to overcome inertia. And speaking of setbacks, his approach to failure is just as radical. When things go wrong, the required response is just one word: good.
Good. It's this incredible forced perspective shift. A project gets canceled. Good. We don't waste any more resources on it. The plan failed. Good. Now we know what doesn't work.
Right, like the example from the source. You face a huge project failure at work. Instead of panicking, you immediately just say, good. Ah.
Yeah.
And that one word forces you to accept reality and pivots your brain straight to solutions. It's like high-speed resilience.
Now, this is where we do need a moment of, critical interpretation. While that good philosophy is super empowering for taking action, it does risk oversimplifying some really genuine emotional complexity. If something truly traumatic happens, we know that real resilience requires space to process grief or disappointment.
So the balance then, especially for you, the learner, is to use good as a lever, to move from being paralyzed to reassessing the situation, but also acknowledging that sometimes you need a pause before you can make that pivot.
Exactly. But when it's about fear, that hesitation that just freezes us,
Yeah.
the philosophy is pure action. Fear is normal. You don't beat it by waiting for it to go away. The antidote is movement.
Don't overthink, don't deliberate. If you're frozen, just step. Action is the only way through.
But this level of mental control, it demands a physical foundation.
Yeah.
You can't win that internal war if your body is failing. We have to treat the body like a machine. So let's get into the practical strategies.
And the bedrock of that physical discipline is waking up early. This comes from the military practice called Stand 2.
Right, and for anyone unfamiliar, Stand 2 is basically being fully ready and vigilant before dawn. It's the highest state of readiness. And in civilian life, waking up early means you conquer the hardest decision of the day, getting out of bed before any excuses can even take root.
It completely eliminates the "I don't have time" excuse for training. And it builds this incredible confidence because you've already won a battle with your own will before most of the world is even awake. The instruction is simple. Go to bed early and wake up early.
But we have to stress, discipline requires rest. You can't run on fumes. The sources are really clear that adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Poor sleep just leads to hormonal chaos and mental decline.
And there are 4 really practical strategies for getting that good sleep. First, get tired. Stay active during the day. Second, limit screen time. Third, read a book before bed. And fourth, prioritize waking up early, which forces you to go to bed early.
It's a cycle.
Consistency is everything. And when you get to the workout itself, again, consistency trumps intensity. The most important thing is to do something, anything. Even a light workout every day is better than a huge one once a week.
And the workout blueprint is straightforward. Varied functional movements, pull, push, lift, squat, plus some core and metabolic conditioning, it hits the whole machine.
And when that machine breaks down, injuries, illness, discipline doesn't just stop. The discipline response is to adapt. You stay active within your limits. If your leg is broken, you work your core and your arms. You just refuse to surrender completely to inactivity. Okay, let's shift to advanced control, because discipline also extends to fuel. The guiding principle here is maintaining homeostasis, the body's natural balance.
And the big problem highlighted is the modern diet, especially high carbohydrate intake. Too many carbs trigger these sharp insulin spikes, which leads to fat storage, weight gain, all sorts of chronic issues.
And this is where the source material gets its most rigid. It argues that sugar addiction is basically like drug dependency. It has withdrawal, cravings, the works.
And to combat that, a strict whole food diet is the recommendation, something like a paleo approach. But here's the really critical point. The sources warn against the 80-20 rule. Instead, they advocate for holding the line, 100% adherence.
Now, wait a minute. For the learner just starting out, 100% seems, almost impossible. Isn't the 80-20 rule designed to make it more sustainable long-term?
That's a totally reasonable criticism. And the source doesn't deny it's difficult. But the reason for 100% adherence is more philosophical than it is nutritional. The 80-20 rule is seen as a loophole. It gives the weak part of your mind a space to argue, to negotiate, and eventually to fail.
So holding the line is actually psychological warfare against yourself. You just eliminate the internal debate entirely.
Precisely. If you are 100% committed, the decision is already made. There's no room for slippage. It removes that constant mental burden of deciding whether or not to cheat.
That makes a lot of sense. Discipline is the elimination of choice. And another tool for strengthening that willpower is fasting.
Yeah, fasting is presented as a beneficial psychological exercise. It teaches you self-control. And beyond the mental side, it can improve cellular function and help regulate hunger signals, bringing your body back toward that homeostasis.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the external application of all this. Safety and situational awareness. The philosophy demands that you train for the worst-case scenario.
And that starts with avoidance. You are always maintaining situational awareness. You're identifying escape routes, potential cover, possible threats. If you can't avoid a confrontation, the rule is decisive action. Run or fight back aggressively.
And to build that capacity to fight, there's a clear recommendation for martial arts.
Start with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The emphasis is on grappling because it teaches you to stay calm under extreme physical duress. It's a foundational mental skill. Then follow that up with a striking art like boxing or Muay Thai. The training builds skills, but it also reinforces that mental toughness we've been talking about this whole time.
This has been a really, really deep dive into a philosophy that's uncompromising, but also deeply rewarding. The synthesis for you, the learner, is that discipline isn't a set of chains. It is the key to liberation from weakness, from inertia, and from that endless cycle of excuses.
It creates power. Every discipline choice you make reinforces your resolve. As the source material says, discipline begets discipline. Will propagates more will. You build this unbreakable foundation. And this journey, the warpath, its ultimate goal isn't constant struggle. It's freedom and it's peace.
So what does this all mean for you right now? If discipline is the decision you make in this moment to be better, what single immediate action, no matter how small, will be your first step on the warpath toward genuine peace and freedom? Think about that. We'll see you on the next deep dive.